I'm Peter and I teach three-dimensional mindfulness. I teach the Alexander technique. I discovered in the Kindle edition of my book that I can see bits that people have highlighted, popular highlights, and that some of the things I wrote have been highlighted 14 times. I checked in Swan's Way, the first volume of Proust's In Search of Lost Time, and I found that some of the things he wrote have been highlighted 700 times, so I've got some catching up to do. The first thing that is highlighted is a quote from F.M. Alexander himself. He said, "People do not decide their futures, they decide their habits, and their habits decide their futures." If you've read my book, you'll know that I do a lot of people watching while I'm commuting. Yesterday I was on the train and there was a woman sitting nearby with her face buried in the newspaper like this. And every time the train stopped, she looked up and frantically checked what station she was at. It had been announced. And when this happened the fourth time, she looked out in a panicky way. I said, "Green Park." She grabbed her bag and scurried off the train. I'm fairly sure she would have missed her stop if I hadn't intervened. So her habit of frowning to read, her habit of burying her head in the newspaper and narrowing her focus nearly caused her to miss her stop. It really is possible to read effortlessly whilst staying aware of your surroundings. Curving your neck, frowning and concentrating don't actually help you to read. I read in a book called Quirkology by Richard Wiseman, a professor of the public understanding of psychology, about an experiment where they recruited people who felt they had generally been lucky in life and people who felt they had generally been unlucky in life. They gave them all a newspaper to read individually, asking them to find an article, a particular article. And within the newspaper was an ad that said, "If you spot this, tell the researcher, and he'll give you £100. And the lucky people tended to spot it, and the unlucky people tended not to spot it. It could, of course, be that some people actually are lucky and others unlucky, but I suspect it has something more to do with open focus. My lady on the train today could have read her newspaper with more open focus and stayed aware of her surroundings. Her journey today may not have been important, but on other occasions she might have missed her stop on the way to a job interview or a first date. Most of my clients come to me for physical reasons. They want to improve their posture or get rid of their back pain. But one of the major benefits they get is more open focus, mindfulness in 3 dimensions. I'm touching on one of F.M. Alexander's ideas here, the choice we have between what he called end gaining and the means whereby. I'll talk about that in my next video, but for now, end gaining usually involves narrow focus, and the means whereby involves being more openly focused, more 3-dimensionally mindful. Our habits affect our lives. Our habits affect our futures. When we're doing our habits, we're not in charge of ourselves. Our habits are in charge. We're not making choices. We're on autopilot. We're relying on our habits to decide things or achieve things. This Alexander mindfulness thing shows us what our habits are, that we can choose not to indulge them. It shows us how to be more conscious, more mindful, more open focused. Once we're making conscious choices, we're in charge of ourselves and our lives once again. F.M. Alexander said, and I quoted this in my book, but it has not yet been highlighted, "For in the mind of man lies the secret of his ability to resist, to conquer, and finally to govern the circumstances of his life." Come and try it. Learn to drop your habits and take charge of your life. Your posture will improve too. If you want to know more, you could read my book, Mindfulness in 3D, subscribe to my channel, and my last video was on expanding your comfort zones.